Welcome to today's episode, Overcoming Challenges and Staying Motivated. This is our last episode of this segment where we spend time with Dr. Lisa Martin. Let's face it, even with the best plans in place, we have challenges and distractions are inevitable. However, the real test of success often comes down to how we stay motivated and handle obstacles. In this segment with Dr. Martin, we'll discuss strategies for maintaining focus, building accountability, and bouncing back from setbacks. Plus, we'll share techniques for maintaining stress and staying energized throughout the year. Dr. Martin, many people start the year motivated but lose momentum over time. Which strategies can help maintain consistency and focus? And before you answer that, I want to say welcome to the show because I didn't even pause to give you time to say welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. And I think that little slip up is such an important one to bring into this question is to pause. Pause and reflect is such an important part of this process of goal setting. Sometimes we can set really big and lofty goals and just keep pushing through. But I think taking the time to really sit and review and reflect regularly and adjust for any changes in our life and our situation is an important part of keeping on course for the long haul. Another suggestion I have is really breaking your goals into smaller steps. It can feel really huge and insurmountable when you have a huge goal, lose 50 pounds. That feels really tough when it's week one and you've lost, half a pound. So how can you make your goals smaller, achievable, actionable so that, you feel like you're moving forward? The other strategy I suggest is making these changes routine. How can you weave in your goals into your daily or weekly habits instead of trying to put them sort of on top or outside of the things that you normally do, right? So you want to start flossing more regularly. Well, how are you going to work that into your night routine as opposed to trying to do something way outside of your norm? And the other thing I recommend, which I think that you've talked about on your podcast before, is engaging in a visualization process, a sort of dreaming process. Like, keep thinking about what you will be like, how your relationships will be different, how your life will be different when you finally do achieve this goal. It will keep you focused through the inevitable ups and downs of the process of working towards your goals.
As we talk about maintaining consistency and focus, one of the things that comes to mind is accountability. How does accountability play a part in us achieving our goals, and how can we create systems to help keep us on track?
Well, accountability is really about, I set out to do a goal, and why am I doing it? Who does it benefit? What does it benefit? And really trying to stay accountable to that. So if it's about a goal about my health, my accountability partners are my family that wants me around. So how can I engage them in my goal setting around the maintenance of my health? And when my motivation dips, how can I have them help me reconnect with my values and reconnect with the reasons why I'm on this path? So I think that accountability is not just a solo endeavor. It has to be done within partnership and relationship.
When we're in a professional setting and as a leader, it's important to have accountability in place. How do you have a dialogue, or what does it look like as a leader to be able to engage someone in a professional setting that you want to serve as your accountability partner, someone that can, for lack of a better wording, that can call you on your mess or tell you when you know what, you probably could have handled that a little bit better. What does that conversation look like when you're seeking out someone in a professional setting to help you with accountability?
Well, I think that actually you need a couple of people to help you with accountability. You do need that partner who's going to give it to you straight and look for the weak areas and be able to give you like some harder to hear constructive feedback. You need that person. But you also need the cheerleader. You need someone who's just got your back no matter what, thinks you are the bee's knees, so that when your self-esteem dips, they can reflect to you who you are and who they see in you. You also need your staff. You also need to build relationships with your staff so they feel free and safe enough to really tell you what they need from you, right? So a lot of this is not relying on just one person, because you need different kinds of support. So creating a sort of system of accountability, a community of accountability, and your ability to show up to those relationships with transparency and humility sort of gives these people permission to reflect that same thing back to you, right? So you really set the tone in those relationships by how open and honest and humble you are in them.
You hit on something that I'd like to expand on. You talked about creating a safe environment. Could you share on that?
Yes. Psychological safety is so important for a workplace that really wants to thrive and be a creative space and a place where employees feel connected and committed to the mission. And so really what psychological safety is do I feel safe enough here to bring my ideas, to challenge the status quo, to raise my hand when, there's a mistake, or when I see an alternative way that we could go about things. And I think what often happens in workplaces is that sense of safety is crushed, and leaders don't realize that they're also then crushing great solutions, great potential, great possibility. They're losing staff because they haven't created an environment where different opinions can be present, respected, and held with curiosity.
Thank you so much for elaborating on that, because I think it is very important in the workplace, because sometimes we can find ourselves in the environment and we wonder, why isn't, let's say you made a mistake, and in hindsight you says, oh my goodness, somebody else should have noticed that wasn't the best decision for us to make in that situation, but no one said anything. And then you're sitting in your office thinking, well, why didn't anyone say anything?
Right.
And it might be because they don't feel safe coming up and addressing an issue with you.
Exactly. Leaders need to be the brokers of permission for this kind of engagement with their staff. You set the tone. You come to your staff, again, with this transparency. Hey, I have an issue I don't quite know the solution to. I don't know everything. I need your help. I need your partnership. I need your ideas. And really honoring those different ideas. So again, this sort of transparency and humility that I was speaking about, like when leaders show up that way, they create permission for their staff to show up that way too.
I had to write that down. Leaders must be the broker of permission. Did I get that correct?
Yes, and I'm going to give my mentor, Dr. Ken Hardy, the credit for that great term. Yes, brokers of permission.
I will not forget that.
Mm-hmm.
That is an awesome visualization. Now, we've talked about overcoming challenges, staying motivated, and we would be remiss if we did not mention that sometimes doing all of this can leave us feeling stressed and overwhelmed. How do we manage our stress and as we work towards our goals?
Absolutely. Again, I think, the way that we work in this country, the culture of our workplaces often separate us from our bodies and from, the very things that can rejuvenate us. So being sure that you are connected to your body in some way, movement, meditation, mindfulness, whatever you can do to stay in touch with it is going to really help you be grounded and ride the waves of stress. I also think being in front of a computer all day and in an office, whether it's home or at the workplace, we are missing our connection with nature. And so making sure that on a weekly basis, ideally a daily basis, you are doing something in nature, a walk, a swim, touching the grass, even mowing your lawn, and really having a full sensory experience of that. I mean, these things just like bring us back to what is really important for the long haul of our lives. And I think that really helps to alleviate that like day-to-day stress of work life and of really trying to, battle to achieve goals. And the other thing I would say is, making sure that those relationships are nurtured, that you feel part of community, that you are really pouring into the people that you say you love. Are you showing your love? Are you doing the action of love, or has work and your drive to achieve goals kind of taken the lead in where you spend your energy? And if it has, that's not going to keep you going for the long haul.
I would add to that list, in one way that I have found to be very helpful to help manage stress is before I take on any projects, I ask myself, how does this align with my goals and my values? Is it in alignment with what I want to achieve? And then I take it a step further, is that I give myself permission to say no.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we feel that every opportunity we must say yes to, and we only have 24 hours in a day, and when you take out the 8 that we're supposed to be sleeping, the 8 that you may work in an office environment, that doesn't leave you with very much time. So being able to make the decision at least as often as you can to only take on those projects that align with your goals will help free up your time and help you alleviate some of the stress and the feelings of being overwhelmed.
Absolutely. And I think there's also like a micro level at which you need to say no, right? We previously talked about how boundary setting is a form of self-care. So it's saying no to certain projects, but I think it's also in the day, there's a point at which you have to say, no, I'm stopping this project in this moment and moving on to something else. I think sometimes people need some strategies for their time management, and that they can be spending too much time on something that doesn't really matter or isn't like the center of their value system or their goals, and then they end up feeling so stretched thin. So I think even thinking about it on your day-to-day, what systems do I have in place to make sure I'm managing my time well?
Dr. Martin, these 4 sessions have been amazing. Listeners, you have a guide to help ensure that your new year is going to be less stressful and more goal orientated. And you have the strategy of what needs to be done to prioritize the things that you're doing for this year. I invite you to connect with Dr. Lisa Martin at healwithdrlisa.com. And of course, you can always connect with her on LinkedIn. Dr. Martin, thank you so much for your time. It has been a pleasure.